Good afternoon. I'm Brian Orlando with my friend political pundit Ron Goldstein. So on rongoldstein.wordpress.com, your latest blog entry, it's probably going to piss off some of your fellow Democrats. Yeah. Normally it's not the type of thing for a Republican to be partisan. I've always noticed that when you lean to the left, you tend to be a little more honest, and you were quite honest when it came to Hillary Rodham Clinton this week.
Right. Well, we should be the target as well as Republicans. I don't like that you stake out one side and not the other, and look at the holes in them. And I come from the Kennedy wing of the party, where you got to take some bold stands. I believe that Obama's in that wing as well, and I thought the Clintons are a little bit more towards let's do what we have to do politically so we can get elected, and then once we're in, then we'll throw some bones and see what happens.
They seem to play it safe throughout their tenure as politicians.
Right, and I watched, this was in relation to last week when I watched Hillary Clinton's town hall on CNN. And, I came away thinking, oh my God, it's the same old stuff. It's like, and I feel she doesn't get it, that this is, look, it got him elected in 1992, but he only did get 38% of the vote.
Right.
But yes, it got him elected. It broke the whole cycle of Reagan's Morning in America stuff. And I was very grateful for that. But, since then, it hasn't worked. I mean, look what happened to her in 2008. Barack Obama had a message. It wasn't the black guy versus the woman, because last I checked, 51-12 usually is a winner for the 51%. So it's not about that. You have to have a message. The voters are very savvy, which I really like. It has to be. I'd like a little more participation among the voters, but they are very savvy, and they want to see a message. And sometimes the message is more important than anything else. That's why Eric Cantor lost.
But was it so much the message, or just the fact that Obama came across as something different than a typical politician? Hillary was so prototypical in her speech,
yes,
her delivery.
Right.
We had 8 years of Bush. The country was in a disastrous mess.
Yeah.
And Obama represented something different than
Change,
what we had.
Hope. He voted against the Iraq involvement in the Iraq War. If you ever play tennis and you're ahead, all you want to do is you don't want to hit the ball because you just want to get off the court. You just want it to end. And that's what happens with these people. They feel that it's theirs for the taking. They're ahead, so they want to play it safe and just get off the court. Well, it's not what happens. It's the scrutiny is unbelievable because of our 24/7 news cycle. I mean, every time you floss your teeth, it's going to be, in Politico. So you've got to have, and sometimes they may not even agree with the message, but they may respect you as a leader and as a visionary because you have a message, and they will spank the person who doesn't have a message. Howard Dean was not, he finally lost, but he came out of nowhere. He was kind of a lightweight, governor of Vermont. Nobody knew him. He had a message. So he rose very high. He gave John Kerry a good run for his money for the nominating process. You have Eric Cantor lost because the guy was a Tea Party guy. He had a message. Eric Cantor was just the safe political guy. You cannot, in 2014, 2016, you cannot be the safe political person. And that's what I saw in Mrs. Clinton's town hall last week.
So what does she have to do now moving forward to get elected? It's only 2014.
Right.
If she's going to run in 2016, she has basically 2 years. What does Hillary Clinton have to do now to get elected?
She has to craft a message. What that message is something that, she has the advantage of being a blank slate as far as the message right now. But she cannot be like, I am the woman, so there's 51%. I am the person who's the most capable, because people don't vote for efficiency. They want to vote for a visionary. Mm-hmm. And so she has to decide what that vision, how to take all the advantages that she does have. She was a woman, she was a first lady, she was Secretary of State, and she was senator, and now she's like this huge celebrity. Take all that, embrace it, and try to figure out how to craft some sort of a message that tells people what would be your motivating factor in running the country for the next 4 to 8 years.
Do you think she's somebody at this point, because she is steeped in her ways,
Yep.
and she and her husband have found major success playing the typical politician? Do you
Right.
think she's going to be able to get this?
She certainly can be able to. They're very, very smart people. I don't know why they don't get that, but I hate to say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. But hopefully it doesn't happen with her. She's going to go the same way she did in 2008, and hopefully for my behalf, not with someone on the not losing to someone on the other side, because we don't. I wouldn't like that. I don't want more years of George Bush or Reagan in America. So she can definitely. I mean, she doesn't even have to have this message until the rollout sometime after the midterm elections. So she could be saving it for that. Is she doing that? There's nothing that indicates that that's where she's going.
How does she avoid the Benghazi fallout and all of her work as Secretary of State? Because they're going to be, the Republicans, her opponents, are going to be looking for any little particular thing that they can slam her on.
Her best moment in 2008 was the night before the New Hampshire primary, where she said, all I'm trying to do is make a difference, and a tear came to her eye, and I knew right then and there she was going to win the New Hampshire primary. I actually saw some of her staffers next morning who looked glum, and I said, look, I think you're going to have a good day, because that worked. We never saw it again. All she has to do with Benghazi and say, look, Chris, the ambassador was my friend, Chris Stevens, I believe, was my friend. And I was responsible for what happened there that day. I take responsibility because I was Secretary of State. I'm the head of all the missions. And so I take it upon myself. And every single day, I live with that. And the emotion you just heard in my voice, she conveys that and says, and gives that as how she lives with it. It would help her better than trying to prevaricate and dodge and
Right.
It just doesn't. It looks like she's hiding something, and I am sure that nobody's hiding anything. Could they have had, in hindsight, better security? Sure. Maybe there were no indications that there were. But show people that you weren't happy with you were very upset with what happened that
Right.
day.
It hurt you, and move on.
Right, and you wish you had, if you'd give anything to have that day over again, to do it again. And you know what? Some people would say, well, don't do that because it doesn't look like you're efficient. It doesn't look, and that you screwed up, and you're kind of admitting to that. Well, you know what? I think that would help her.
See, Ron founded a company called Free Media Inc., and what Ron does is he advances political candidates into office. So you could sit back and you could look at the science of all of this stuff, watch what a candidate says on TV, and you basically get a good feeling as to what their future will be and if they can win an election.
I do not predict. And all these people that you see on television saying, this is what's going to happen, turn that off. Don't listen to those people anymore. You cannot predict what's going to happen unless it's like the night before, 2 nights
Right.
before. But what I will do is I will say, look, we have to play the percentages. And this is the best percentage of something happening.
Mm-hmm.
If you do A, B, and C, then the best percentage of D happening, which is winning the election, will happen if you do A, B, and C. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It means this is the best percentage of the possibility of it happening.
Ron's Twitter is @FreeMediaInc. Inc. Your blog again, Ron Goldstein, political pundit, @WordPress.com. Your piece about Hillary Clinton was just written. We shall see now, moving forward, what she does, and perhaps maybe takes her advice.
It'll be very interesting. Listen, I admire her very much. I would love for her to take my advice or the advice from someone else that's similar to what I've written. But, I admire her. I wish her the best luck. I just hate to see more political pandering. I just hate to see that in a great woman like that.
We'll see what happens. We'll see you next week.